Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lucky Dog Gen 6 Tuesdays here from Homestead, Miami I don't think it's a super speedway. I think it's just Homestead, Miami Speedway. Must admit, when it comes to tracks here in the Lucky Dog circuit, Homestead is probably one of the ones I am the least familiar with. I know that there are 3 lines you can run here: top, middle, bottom. But as for which is the fastest lane, which one is the one that's going to go, lean towards long run speed in these cars, I'm not entirely certain. I think we ran this track in the trucks earlier in the season, and the trucks seem a little bit more straightforward here than the Gen 6 cars do. But before we get too deep into that, we'll go ahead and we'll go down the starting lineup. Starting on pole, it's the 78 of Gary Slipinski. To his outside in the beautiful gold Miller car, the 92 of Shane Bowie. Starting inside on the second row is the 43 of Sandy Curtis, and to his outside is the 66 of Colton Manich. Starting fifth, we have the 57 of Jeff Gilmore, and in sixth, the 44 of Jacob Edson. Starting seventh, we have the 139 of Derek Garrison. He acts like Homestead, so we will keep an eye on Derek. Starting to his outside is the 777, and to his outside in 12th is the 50 of Todd Willis. Starting 13th, we have the 3 of Kendall Kraft. 14th, the 59 of Ralph Blair. Starting 15th is the 52 of Gary Whitmer Sr. 16th and 17th is the 75 and the 00, William Keller and Thomas Holder. I am your broadcaster. I am the number 75. I am not starting this race. And the 00, Thomas Holder, he is your tower control for the evening. So he will not be starting this race either. So actually starting 16th will be the 85 of Al Cena. Starting 17th will be the 19 of Ben Gear. And starting, I do believe, 18th will be the 91 of Joel Guy. Pace car is bringing them towards the start-finish line. Green flag is out here at Homestead Miami Speedway. 100 laps, 150 miles. It's going to be a very difficult race for some of these drivers. I was noticing in practice, this track can be very, very slippery. As we can see, the 43 are talking about it being slippery. 92, Shane Bowie, loose there, coming out of turn 2. Was able to save it. That drops him back to the 6th position. I was about to mention that he'd already dropped from 2nd to 3rd there just in that opening corner. And see the 57, Jeff Gilmore, a little bit of a loose moment. I believe that was the 33 behind him. I believe, no, that's the 99, Dan Witt. Had a little bit of a loose moment there coming out of turn 4. Clean, fresh tires at this track for whatever reason. Just so someone's headed down the inside. Who is that? Not certain. I think it might have been the 85. No, 777. Michael Pegg. Oh, there is damage on that car. It is not driving straight. Looks like he had a little bit of a moment there coming out of turn 2. We'll go back and take a look at this. Just got loose, slapped the wall hard with the left side of that car. Looks like it broke the left rear suspension. Now, these guys do each have 2 fast repairs. Yeah, that car is crab walking. Each of these drivers do have 2 fast repairs. Like Michael here getting into his pit box, so he'll be taking, with the way that car is driving, that's not going to be easy, but he is looking to get that thing fixed, get back out there. These cars seem to take a while to really settle in. Just in my own testing, it was very, very difficult to get a few laps turned in these cars. Just super loose at the start, especially if you're running the bottom. It seemed like maybe on fresh tires they stuck, at least to me, a little bit better there on the top lane, but I had a couple drivers tell me that that top lane, it's not good for long-term tire wear. So I'm not entirely certain. I mean, it sounds like it races very similar to how the trucks race here, but it'll be an adventure for a lot of these drivers as they make their way around. Michael Pegg was able to get down and away, get his car repaired. Unfortunately, the damage to that car, not enough to bring out a caution, so he is currently showing a lap down. And I believe, from what I'm seeing on the telemetry, if he is passed by our leaders, that'll put him 2 laps down, so he is very much hoping for a caution. Meanwhile, our leader, Gary Slapinski, and second place Colton Manich, they have built up a decent break to the 44 of Jacob Edson, currently running third. Jacob himself trying to see what he can do to build a gap between himself and the 43 of Sandy Curtis. Sandy, though, unlike the folks ahead of him, he's stuck racing side by side with someone. The 92, Shane Bowie here, not giving Sandy the room he needs to be able to slide up the track to maintain that momentum there on the bottom. All while Derek Garrison here in the 139, I know it says 88, he is scored as the 139. He's waiting in the wings, waiting for one of these guys to clear the other. That's all he needs. So what he's going to be doing is be taking it very easy on those tires, especially here in this dirty air. If these cars are handling for these guys the way they were for me in practice, they're going to be fighting a loose car, and eventually they're going to be fighting a plowing tight car as this goes, especially if you're like me and you are over driving the corners, especially turn 3 seemed to be where I noticed a lot of tightness in the car in practice. Does not look like our leaders are having that problem, though. Gary Sapinski looks like he's making some very decent speed, wrapping the bottom there. I do believe we were seeing he was doing that both ends of the track. Colton Manich, though, looking just to see where can he make up time. Notice he's not exactly following in Gary's tire tracks. He's sitting about a half a lane to a full lane up, keeping that air on that nose, keep as much downforce on the car as possible, and he is able to keep that car there within 1/10 of a second of Gary Slapinski. And of course, he has that draft pull coming out of the corners, so that's greatly going to aid his ability to keep it out front. We take a look back here, 44 Colton Manich here, not able to keep up that half-second gap he had built up over the 43. Sandy Curtis all over his rear bumper, and he is bringing the 92 with him. Sorry, that's the 139. 139 with him. Shane Bowie, like he had a bit of a moment. He's dropped back to 7th place, been passed by Jeff Gilmore. Jeff Gilmore assumes the 6th position. These guys all looking for just that little bit of a slip up. Homestead, Miami, like I said, not an easy track to drive. Probably one of the more difficult tracks here on the Lucky Dog circuit. You can see Sandy Curtis has a fairly shallow, at least for the line he's running, a fairly shallow exit to turn 4, and that's really stopping Derek Garrison from getting those runs that he needs. Looks like Sandy may have a little bit of a moment, got a little loose, shot down the track. That's going to hurt his momentum. So the 139 is going to be looking again one more time to see if he can duck down there. Nope, chooses to take it high this time. Run it right there against the wall, see if he can get the momentum. They're going down the front stretch. Sandy Curtis blinks out, so that's not going to make the 139 particularly happy. As he gets to his inside, he's going to try and make the pass here. Looks like he's able to clear the 43. Should be able to slide up and assume that 4th position as he sets sight now on the 44. Try and work his way up into the 3rd position. But Jacob Edson, one of the harder guys in Lucky Dog to pass, seems to really be preferring that high lane. Running that high lane, it's going to be very difficult for Derek Garrison to get that kind of run that he's going to need down the straightaway, especially with the dirty air that the 44 will be throwing on his nose. But he gets a pretty good dive, comes out side by side with the 44, goes for a little side draft, not able to keep him back, ducks back in line. And I expect Derek Garrison's going to be running into that lap over lap over lap. Jacob Edson's like, if you want to pass me, you can pass me. Just you're going to pass me down there on the bottom. So what he's trying to do is wear out the tires there on that 139. Watching these two race side by side, this is, I think, really how we're going to figure out which is the fastest lane overall in the long run. Derek Garrison making up a little bit of space every single time. Not quite able to clear him, ducks back in line just before corner entry. So that's allowing him to get that better arc down the bottom, but that 44 right there is what's stopping Derek from getting all the way back up to the wall on corner exits. So this is very hard-fought battle here for the third position. You have the 43 of Sandy Curtis watching this all go down, wondering what he can do to capitalize on one of these guys getting out of place. We'll go ahead and we'll watch for a little bit from Sandy's perspective. Derek going for that higher lane, trying to see if he can get a run on Jacob going down the front stretch. That's a little bit different than what we were seeing. See what he chooses to do here in turn one. Takes it all the way down to the bottom of the track. Not able to clear the 44, slots right back in line. Sandy Curtis here, best seat in the house to this battle between these two drivers. You've heard us talk about the skill of Derek Garrison and Jacob Edson in previous broadcasts. These two, I don't know necessarily if they're evenly matched at this track. It certainly appears like they are. Like some tracks, Derek seems like he firmly has the upper hand. Other tracks, Jacob seems like he's the man to beat. But this battle for third place right here has been going on for quite a number of laps. These two showing no sign of slowing down. Looks like Jacob probably just sticking with his line, just trying to be cool as a cucumber. He knows that the 139 is gonna need one heck of a run to be able to clear him down there on the bottom. But at the same time, I'm not entirely certain what's going on while these guys are racing side by side here. These two, the 78 and the 66, are getting a little bit further and further away. So you got to wonder how much longer are they going to be trying to run side by side, maybe try and track these leaders down. Jacob Edson looks like he's able to claw back about a tenth, and then he loses it there. And again, that's just him racing with Jacob. Sorry, Jacob and Derek. That's just them racing together. Colton Manage doing a fantastic job. He has been all over the bumper of the 78. Pretty much from the drop of the green flag. These two running a very similar line. At most, he's been back 0.3 of a second, but he seems to be able to really pull up to Gary Sapinski's back bumper somewhat regularly. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look. Like these two have about a 2-second lead over third and fourth. Third and fourth, though, still racing super hard. They were side by side there coming out of turn two. Even with all this racing these two are doing, they've actually managed to pull out. Derek Garrison, probably one of the better turn four exits he's had, got a really good run. As he dives it down into turn one, don't know that he has what he needs. He's just barely clear, but the 44 is going to have one heck of a run coming out of the corner. He's going to go for the cutback down there along the backstretch. I don't think he'll clear Derek, but now Jacob Edson's got that bottom lane. Looks like he's running into the same problem Derek was trying to pass down there on the bottom. Does not have the momentum coming off the corner. They're side by side, but it looks like the 44 is going to have to concede the position for at least this lap. So he goes back to the top lane. Derek Garrison goes back to the bottom. It took Derek, I want to say, about 10, 12 laps to be able to make that pass. And that is no small feat, especially considering the fact they were able to build over a 2-second gap between themselves and the 43, who himself is racing side by side with the 50, and they got the 33 looking to take them 3 wide. They were for a bit. They keep it all pointed in the right direction. From what I've seen, this is not an easy track to run 3 wide at. These guys keeping it going straight. Absolutely phenomenal. Hats off to them. 33 still working on the 50 down there on the bottom. But they are, like we mentioned, over 2 seconds back from 4th place. 4th place, Jacob Edson, who's running there along the top lane. And even then, he is a little over 2 seconds back from our leader, Gary Slapinski, who is doing his best to run away with this. Started first. He's led every single lap so far. I want to talk about impressive drives right now. We're going to take a look back at the 10th position. Al Cena here started 18th. It's where he qualified. Currently running in the 10th position. So far, our biggest mover. So he's just making his way through one by one, picking drivers off. It looks like he's making a lot of speed there. Not quite there at the white line, but definitely running towards the bottom of the track. He seems to be getting a lot of really good runs. Seems like from what I've seen, that's where he's made most of his passes. He's about 7 seconds back here from our leader, but at the same time, he's really eats into that lead going down the straightaways. So as the race goes on, that's just in that straightaway, he went from 7 seconds back to 6.7 seconds. So long as he's able to work with drivers like Shane Bowie in 8th ahead of him. So while we were watching, Al Cena was able to take the 9th position. He's currently working on the 92 of Shane Bowie, getting really good pulls down the straightaways from the 92. And that's the really good draft runs the 85 is getting is really what's stopping those two leaders from getting too much further out ahead of him. And that's something he really needs to control, is how far out ahead Gary Sapinski, Colton Manich, and Derek Garrison are from him, especially since these cars have upwards of 60 laps of fuel depending on how they're going to be running this race. I don't know necessarily that you're going to be running 60 laps on a tank of fuel, especially in a 100-lap race. You probably bring it down somewhere around halfway. But none of these guys, I guess it's a long way of saying, none of these guys have to worry about making it to halfway on gas. 85 continues to work on Shane. And he's able to clear him. But he was having almost the same problem that the 44 and the 139 were having. Speaking of, we'll go back to 4th place. Jacob Edson has fallen back about a half a second behind Derek Garrison. Derek here doing his best to make up some time. He is 2.5 seconds behind our leader, Gary Sapinski, but he is close enough to Colton Manich that he should be able to get some kind of draft tow, and that will really help him get up there. We mentioned Derek Garrison, one of the more dangerous drivers. This is probably him, Jacob Edson, Colton Manich, Michael Pegg, and a few others. The ones that Gary Sapinski was really going to have to worry about tonight. And with Michael Pegg having that moment there fairly early on, putting him a lap down, Gary's not too worried, unfortunately, for Michael. He's not worried too much about Michael. So long as we don't have a caution. Of course, if we have a caution, Michael Pegg being our first car a lap down will be our lucky dog. And that's currently what he's hoping and praying for. Just get back there on the lead lap. He gets back on the lead lap, he will be a difficult man to keep behind. But who Gary Sapinski's really worried about right now is this 139. Derek Garrison started 7th. He's running 3rd. He was able to pick off the 44 of Jacob Edson, one of the faster guys here at Homestead, Miami, and he's working on Colton Manich. And we've seen what Colton Manich is capable of at many tracks. He's played runner-up, and he's been 3rd place to Gary Sapinski and Michael Pegg a few times. He had the pleasure of talking with him in several races. Said he's trying to learn as much as he can from those two, and Best way to do that is to keep as close to them for as long as possible, which is no small feat. Now it looks like he's going to have someone else he's going to be able to learn from. That's Derek Garrison, who's now close within a half second of him, making very good use of that draft pull. What that's also allowed him to do is he's pulling closer to Gary Sapinski, who's able to close up 0.3 of a second. Just over the course of me talking about how all these guys are doing. Unfortunately, once he clears Colton, he's not going to have that pull anymore. And he'll have to track Gary down the old-fashioned way. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look back, talking about folks moving through the field, making their presence known. Back here in 7th place, we got Gary Ragland. Gary started 10th, dropped back a little bit there towards the beginning, still racing pretty hard with the 50 of... Well, let me see. Yeah, he's racing hard with the 50 of Todd Willis, the 43 of Sandy Curtis. Todd and Sandy seeming to prefer that top lane. Sandy gets a little bit of a Homestead stripe there. That's something you're going to see these guys run the top lane run into more and more and more as these laps continue to wind down. Lap 35 of 100. These cars are going to get tighter and tighter and tighter, and that's something you always really run into, especially at 1.5 tracks, how tight these cars can get. Especially at a track like Homestead, Miami, where turns 1 and 2, 3 and 4 all look so similar, but I believe turns 3 and 4 have a different shape, a little less banking as he gets in the wall again. It's so easy to overdrive turn 3. We see guys early in the race, they were fighting wrecking loose race cars. Sandy Curtis currently looks like he's fighting a plowing tight race car. Pit window will not open for another 4 or 5 laps. So we expect Sandy to come down pit road here no earlier than lap 40. Ooh, 31. Oh, we might have our caution here. 91 goes around. Got into it. Tell you who's super happy about this. This is the 777 of Michael Pegg. Looks like the 89 got into it. 92 is Shane Bowie gets by. Another driver gets by. We'll go back. We'll take a look at this. That looked like it was just a pass gone wrong. We'll take a look. It was the 91 coming through in the inside. 33 makes an evasive action to not hit the 43 there to the top, but that gets him in the 91 below him. 91 holding the brake, just gets drilled by the 89. So go ahead and we'll ride along here with Randolph Richard to see what all this looked like ahead of him. So you see there to that A-pillar, those cars have disappeared, but that's where the caution is going to happen, is right here out of his sights. They're already sideways here. So he's looking to drive through it, and the 91 was just right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll go back, take a look again. We'll watch a little closer from the 33 here. Probably watch from our good old friend, the chopper cam. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. See, he's diving the 43, Sandy Curtis here, and he's got an excellent run. Look at all that momentum he's got. The lap down car, Joel Guy's coming through, taking advantage. 33, evasive action. Clips the 91, tags the 43. 91 gets drilled there. See the 92 of Shane Bowie and what looks like, I believe that was the 59. Yep, it was a 59 of Ralph Blair. All make it through. Well, while we are here under caution, we think what we're going to go ahead and do. I think we're going to grab our lucky dog here, Mr. Michael Pegg. We'll see if we can chat with him for a little bit. You know, we have the 777 of Michael Pegg. Is Michael William in the booth? You got me?
Yes, sir.
Man, we were talking about it. The only person in this field who was hoping for a caution was you after that little bit of an incident there on turn 2. How lucky are you?
I'm real lucky because Jeff hit Ben coming in, and he got the lucky dog, and he gave it to me. Otherwise, I would still be a lap down.
Well, good luck to you. We were noticing it looked like you had a little bit of a loose moment there on turn 2. Is that pretty much your assessment? The car's just really loose on fresh tires?
It's ready to go. I'm just overdriving, trying to catch him because I had an incident, but we're good now. Give me an EOL for dinner, and let's rock and roll.
We were seeing the 85 of Al Cena just eating these guys up, making his way through traffic. So you definitely keep it all under you. Should be able to get through pretty easy. But we were talking about that 78. You're one of those guys that he wanted to stay a lap down. How much do you think Gary Sapinski's going to have to worry?
I'm going to come knocking on his rear door. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, if traffic works out for me, we'll have a good race tonight.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll put you back with the team. Thank you for talking with us, Michael.
Thanks, sir.
That was the 777 of Michael Pegg. As we are 1 lap to green. 57 of Jeff Gilmore opted to stay out. And so what that'll do is that'll get him back on the lead lap. And so what that's going to do, that'll leave us, I believe that is 5 drivers who are currently a lap down. I do believe, yep, it appears the 85 of Al Cena has disconnected. Probably some technical difficulty there. So hopefully we see Al back with us before too long. That gives us 13 cars here on the lead lap. I'll tell you who did not want to see that caution. The 78 of Gary Sapinski. That has crunched this field up right to his rear bumper. He's got that 139 of Derek Garrison to his outside. He was more than happy for Derek to be as far back behind him as possible. 66 of Colton Manich. It's right back there on the inside, and we saw how tenacious he was. That 44, Jacob Edson, right there on the outside where he loves to be. And to round out your top 5, we have the 50 of Todd Willis. Todd, who has been so silent but so deadly all night long as we get set to go back green. Green flag is in the air. About an even start from the top and the bottom. 44 give a little bit of push to the 139 than the 78 was able to receive, but the 78's got the preferred line on restarts here. 139 tries to pinch him down. These two running very close. Gets a little bit of a side grab. Pulls Gary Sapinski back. They'll be side by side still going into turn 3. 139 not able to clear Gary Sapinski. Gary gets out in front for just a moment, but Derek able to get back into the throttle earlier there on that outside lane to give him an excellent run. Does not look like he led that lap. If he did, it was very, very close. Gary keeping it pinned on that white line, doing what he can to clear Derek. The problem is that momentum there on corner exit is not going to make this easy. As you see, Gary will clear him for a little bit, but then the surge from that top lane just draws them back side by side. Gary looked like he maybe got a little loose there going through turn 4. And that's definitely going to hand the lead to Derek Garrison. Gary Sapinski, no slouch himself, starts looking to the outside, trying to get those momentum runs. He was able to see how Derek Garrison passed Jacob Edson earlier, and he's going to try and do that exact same thing. Speaking of, dives down to the inside there going into turn 3. Gary Sapinski does not want to let Derek Garrison run away with this race. But that momentum run there off the top side. Gary just looking for every little advantage he can get. him running the high side, that's forcing the 44 of Jacob Edson here. He's running low just to keep some fresh air on his bumper as Derek under attack again going into turn 3. Derek seeming to be very, very comfortable there in that middle lane as we watch Gary Sapinski wiggle his way through turn 4. You can see the look there, the in-car cam of Gary Slapinski there. The picture of focus. Not wanting to give Derek Garrison an inch. Derek opted to give Gary the top side here. Gary matting it, going on the outside. That's that run he's looking for. See, if he's able to hold this momentum going into turn 2, he is alongside, almost cleared him. Derek Garrison, though, keeping him pinned down to the bottom. That's taking some of that air off the 78 of Gary Sapinski. Gary able to get a little bit of a side draft, not much. Keeps it there to the inside. Derek giving no quarter. That 78 looking a little sideways there. Keeps good momentum in that car. Still door to door. Looks like he's not going to quite be able to duck back in line. We were watching the 44 and the 139. Jacob Edson and Derek Garrison respectively race side by side, lap over lap over lap, and we noticed that the bottom lane is the one that prevailed there. I think Jacob Edson learned something with that because he is sticking it down there on the bottom as we are 2 by 2 by 2 for the top 6. But Gary Sapinski keeping it down there on the bottom. 44 of Jacob Edson keeping it down there on the bottom. These two guys, after watching that vicious battle for third place, we might see that bottom lane prevail here in this battle. Not entirely certain, because Derek here is not exactly running the high line. He's running the middle, and he's trying to bring the 66 of Colton Manich with him. Keep that 78 pinned down to the bottom. Get him away from me. Let me run my line. But Derek may have found that his line is right there, about a lane up from the bottom. 99 and Dan Witt is going for a pass there on the 50. Was not quite able to clear him. As he goes for it again, all of these guys running so very close to each other. What we'll go ahead and do is we'll take a look at this from the gearbox cam. See how close Gary Sapinski gets. You can see all of those cars so very, very close together. Our top 5 all running within a half a second of each other. See what Garrison's doing there, going down the backstretch. He's given the 66 of Colton Manich and the 78 of Gary Sapinski a little bit of a draft pull. Try to keep them side by side for as long as he can. He does not want them clearing each other, but it looks like Gary Sapinski was able to clear Colton there. Garrett sets his sight. Caution is out again. So who was that? We got cars sideways. Oh, looks like Dan Witt was involved in this one. See what happened. Oh, that is just unfortunate. Tried to save the car, was not able. So he and the 50 were racing coming out of turn 4. Looks like Todd Willis just bounced off the wall trying to keep it out of the way. Not wanting to tangle with Dan. And unfortunately, that sent him right into the 99. You know, we've said it before, cautions breed cautions. So we're going to hope that's not indicative of a trend here. We'll go ahead and we'll ride along. I do believe the 777 was someone we saw drive through that. Actually, the better person might be the 19 of Ben Gear, lap down. He was right next to this when it happened. Yep, he's able to clear it just barely. keeps his foot in it to keep out of the way. We'll watch from the 777 here. He dives that thing straight through the middle. Caution had not flown yet. He's able to score those 2 positions before caution flag is waved. So now everyone coming down pit road, 4 tires and fuel. Or so I thought. This is a development. The 78 of Gary Slapinski, 16 laps on these tires, has opted to stay out. This is a gamble. This is one heck of a gamble here, especially with Derek Garrison, the 139 here. He had the lead. And what this will do is this will get him restarting second on the outside, but he has fresh tires. So how long is the 78 going to be able to hold him off? I hate to say it, I got to question what Gary's doing here. All of these drivers can make it to the end of the race from here. Like, no one has to stop. So this is... He's definitely trying something different. So we'll keep an eye on that. These lap down cars behind him, go ahead and take a look through here. That is that's the 33 Gary Ragland, 91 and Joel Guy. Both these guys lap down, drop into the back of the field. All right, we'll go ahead and make sure we clear it with the boss man here. But Brian, this is William in the booth. You got me?
I got you, sir.
Brian, you are I do believe, our head league admin. What do you make of the race so far? Are you enjoying what you're seeing?
Well, yeah, I do. We went almost half the event there without a single caution. At this track, that can be very difficult to do. Since then, of course, cautions breed cautions. We've had a couple more. But overall, it's good. I'm satisfied.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. These drivers definitely giving it their all, especially, you got Gary Sapinski. He's going for a little bit of a different pit strategy. You got Michael Pegg, had a wreck involving him very early on, but he's all the way back up in the 6th position. Who's your pick to win it tonight?
If I had to roll dice, I'm going to say Michael. Although it's not going to be easy to get around Gary. I don't care what the situation is with his tires. If you look at Garrett, though, Garrett is extremely, extremely strong, and you can't count out Jacob Edson. And Colton Manage. I mean, he's been there week after week. You can't count any of those guys out at all.
We do have a very loaded top 5 as we get going back green. If I had to pick someone, I think I'm going with that 139. He's been strong all night, but we know that Gary Sapinski is going to make him work for it as he clears him out of turn 2.
I think Michael's going to make him work for it as well. I see Michael being a force. Doesn't he have fresh tires, I believe?
He came down the same time Derek did, so I believe 9 out of our top 10 have fresh tires.
think if you look at Jacob Edson,
Nope,
he
so
is
50
always a
going
force
around.
to reckon with. Yep, you
Todd
got
Willis
another.
around, into the 66, all of it below the apron. No caution.
No caution.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, it's okay. I think it wasn't Todd Willis, didn't he? He went into the pits. He probably running on new tires.
Yeah, no, we talked with Michael Pegg a little bit earlier on, and he mentioned that on fresh tires, this car is just ready to go at any moment. You just drive it a little bit, and it'll go around on you. That's probably what happened.
You've got to run that throttle in these turns. And of course, anybody on the inside of you, this is a self-cleaning track. You will go to the inside of the track. So anybody on the inside of you is going to get collected if you get loose, especially coming out of 4. And 4 is about the worst.
Well, you mentioned him going to be a force to reckon with. Michael Pegg looked like he's making short work of Jacob Edson there. Gets around him, sets to work on Gary Sapinski. Looks like he's going to make up 2 positions in 2 turns. Yeah. Oh, a little bit of a loose moment. Keeps it gathered.
That's all right. He's there with Gary. Gary will handle. Now he's stuck down on the bottom, so that may play into it a little bit. Of course, Michael's awful good on the bottom.
Yes, he is. Definitely fighting a little bit of a loose race car, but I was noticing during that early run, the longer it went, the faster he seemed to get. So I expect, like what you were saying, Derek Garrison's going to have to be driving out of his rearview mirror before too long.
I'd say rather quickly if we start watching the lap times and the interval between Michael and Derek. I think Michael's going to catch him here shortly.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you for coming up to the booth to talk to us. I want to take a moment to thank you for all you do behind the scenes, keeping all straight, getting these broadcasts set up for me to flap my gums for a couple hours.
Well, and you do a good job of it, too.
Well, I do my best, but I know that, I think out of everyone at Lucky Dog who does some work, you probably do more than anybody. So we want to take a moment to recognize you for all you do, and thank you very much.
I appreciate it. It is a 7-day-a-week job, and it is a job.
And you do it very well. I think you were helping Thomas admin the race.
I'm in the tower, yeah.
So we'll go ahead and we'll let you get back to what you were doing, and hopefully these guys give you an easy rest of the night.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And that was Brian Pierce, our head admin here at Lucky Dog Sim Racing. He's the Brian France of Lucky Dog. Love all that he does for us. Here we have our 2 picks for the night, 777 and the 139, side by side. These 2 have been going at it for several laps. Michael Pegg looking like he's really, really fighting a little bit of a loose car there, trying to get everything he can out of that bottom lane. You have the 44, Jacob Edson. We mentioned him during that interview. He's there waiting in the wings. He has not been able to get far at all from our 4th place car, Sandy Curtis. Sandy Curtis was not inside the top 5 when this race restarted. I do believe he restarted 7th or 8th, and here he is. Made his way past a whole bunch of people, taps the wall there a little bit. He should be fine. But he's making up a lot of time as he comes under fire from the 59 of Ralph Blair. Looks like he able to clear him a little bit there, but the speed there on that top 43, able to get right back to his outside. And with that draft pull from the 44, he should clear the 59 here. And he does. Ralph taking it easy down there towards the bottom. He's studying what the top 3 are doing, trying to emulate what's going on there. Save some tires and get past the rest of these guys. This is your big battle right here at the front. Michael Pegg doing his best to work on the 139s, able to pull ahead just a little bit, but the momentum run there at the top. Derek Garrison able to secure the lead for that lap. Michael Pegg, I want to say this is probably the closest he's been so far. He pulls that nose ahead, going through turn 2. Looks like being forced to run that little bit lower line out of turn 2. That's what's really hurting his turn 2 exit. He needs to be watching that right rear tire. The more that he has those loose moments, the more that right rear is going to go. And the last thing you need is a car that is both wrecking loose and plowing tight. We were talking about tight battles. Our top 5 here all fighting incredibly hard. 43 doing what he can to get around the 44. 59 doing his best to follow through, looking for that hole. Gets a little bit loose. Keeps it pointed straight. We have a 5-car breakaway from the field. Lap 68 coming lap 69. There is a 2.5 second difference between Ralph Blair here in 5th and the 6th place car of Mr. Shane Bowie, who himself is fighting with the 52. I do believe the 52, yeah, one of our lap down cars trying to fight his way back up to the front, but right here with him. 78 of Gary Sapinski dropped from 1st to 7th, but still doing a fairly decent job of holding everyone off behind him. He's on 31 lap-old tires and still turning comparable lap times to the people around him. In fact, in some instances, a little fast. Almost gets a little bit of a bump there from the 99. Dan Witt wanting to get around Gary Sapinski. Dan knows his tires are better, just looking for that hole. Not quite able to find it. He sends it around the outside, trying to follow the 52. Sees that hole start to close. Thinks better of it. We'll go ahead back to the front of the field here. Jacob Edson fighting side by side with Sandy Curtis and Michael Pegg. Drops it in right behind Michael. Tell you who's loving to see this. Derek Garrison, the 139. We'll watch from his gearbox. You see all of these drivers fighting as hard as they can. Michael Pegg knows they can make it to the end from here. He's got plenty of fuel. We can't let Derek Garrison stay out there too much longer. That's what's going through Michael's head, but he needs to find that hole to get around him. If he can get a little bit of a push from the 44 of Jacob Edson, he might be able to make it happen. Jacob Edson there looking to the inside. Jacob doing what he can, looking to see if he can nab second place away from Michael Pegg. Michael running that same lane that Derek was using on him, and that looks like it's going to keep the 44 behind him. Just barely clears him here before turn 3. Jacob Edson getting fantastic turn through turn 4, getting fantastic exit through turn 4. Say head back down to turn 1. Sandy Curtis all over the back of Jacob Edson. All of these guys just trying to get what they can out of these cars, driving them for everything they're worth. Again, Derek Garrison enjoying all of that clean air. Everyone behind him just fighting that dirty air in his wake. 43 starts to battle with the 59 for 4th place. Sandy Curtis in that 43 looks like he was able to come away with that position. See all of our top 3. Derek Garrison, Michael Pegg, Jacob Edson, all 3 of these guys opting to run the bottom of the track, both ends of the track. And it's starting to look to me, and this is where Michael's starting to play the long game. He's starting to wait for those tires to run out there on the 139. But unfortunately, with all that clean air, especially with all that pace Derek was showing over the long run, Michael's going to need to find his way around that 139 as quickly as he can. So 25 laps to go, plenty of time for something to happen. While we're talking, while we're just watching these guys run, there is a 5-second difference between Jacob Edson here in third. And actually, we'll go from the 44, Sandy Curtis, who's kept it right with him. He's half a second back from him. There is 5 seconds from Sandy Curtis to Dan Witt. That is one heck of a gap that these top 4 have been able to build. It's good recovery here from the 66 of Colton Manich. We saw there was that contact earlier on. Colton has been able to move his way back from that contact. You know, he got dropped down quite a ways, moved his way back up to the 7th position. Good recovery drive for Colton Manich. But you got to know there's got to be a little bit of damage to that car. It's probably not handling right. So he's more than likely the top of the list of someone who really wants to see a caution so he can come down and get that car fixed, go back and contend for the win. We'll see when we head back to the front. Derek Garrison comfortably enjoying a half-second lead over the 777 and the 44. These two fighting side by side for that second place. And them fighting side by side, that's keeping the 43 of Sandy Curtis right with him. He's looking for all that momentum he can get there around the top side. See, he loses a lot of time there going around the top in the, into the corner, then coming off the corner. He makes up so much time. 44 of Jacob Edson goes back to the top, and that looks like it takes just a little bit of air off the 43, just scrapes the wall a little bit. But here's where Jacob does what he does, gets that massive run to the rear bumper of the 777. So that's what these two are going to have to do. He gave Michael a shot. Michael was able to make up some time on Derek. And that's what these two are going to have to do. They're going to have to work together. 44 still looking to see if he can make that pass happen there on the bottom side. Again, we see that amazing turn 4 cornering ability that Jacob Edson's been showing all night long. Unfortunately, not able to maintain that momentum, but doesn't lose too much by way of time. Sandy Curtis sends it around the outside, challenging for third place. Jacob looking like just able to clear him. That's going to bring the 43 right to his rear bumper. 43 is going to shove him all the way down the backstretch. Lifts a little early. But this is what Jacob Edson's been doing, getting those monster runs on the high side. Not able to make it to the outside of Michael Pegg. Has to lift to avoid getting in him. Michael throws that block. And again, 139 here. He's watching all this, and he is just scooting away. And we'll ride with the 43 here for a lap. Right up on the rear bumper of the 44 going into the corner. Sandy sending that car for all it's worth. Back into the field a little bit further. 99 of Dan Witt here, currently running 6th, doing what he can to track down that 59 of Ralph Blair. Ralph falling close to 3 seconds off Derek Garrison, about 1.5 seconds off of Sandy Curtis in 4th. Ralph, unfortunately for him, going the wrong way. Dan doing everything he can to try and capitalize on that. He's got people behind him that he is worried about. That's 78 of Gary Slapinski. I would dare go ahead and say the mad lad Gary Slipinski got passed by the 66 of Colton, back by the 66 of Colton Manich. Colton in 7th place, Gary in 8th. Colton trying to get all of the speed he can out of that car. And it is amazing how well Gary Slipinski's been able to keep up with these guys. Again, he's got 47 lap old tires. Everyone else around him's got 30 lap old tires. There's excellent car control from the 78. He's able to keep this car pointing in the right direction and continue to make speed. If we go ahead and look at the lap times, he's about a half a tenth slower than our leaders, so they're not making up that much time on him. You know, we were really questioning what Gary Slipinski was doing, and while it's dropped him back here as he goes for a pass here on the 99 of Dan Witt and goes back to work on the 66 of Colton Manich, thinking about putting himself back in the 6th position. Incredible drive here from the 78. Talking about incredible drives, though, we will not forget again Colton Manich driving with a damaged race car. Able to battle back from, I do believe he was all the way back in the 12th position. Now he's back up to 7th. After that contact there. .50 of Todd Willis, not that much further behind him. I think he was also involved in that. His car looks like it's handling about the same as Colton's. He's also going nowhere. Keeping right up with these guys currently running in the 9th position. Go ahead and we'll examine the 92, Shane Bowie here. Shane qualified 2nd. Definitely one of the faster cars in a short run, but does not seem to quite have the long run speed that some of the other cars have been enjoying as he races side by side with the lap down car of Gary Ragland. Shane keeping it right up there against the wall. It's definitely appearing like the bottom lane is the superior lane for long run speed as we start looking at 10-11 laps to go. Derek Garrison crossing the start finish line. He's able to build up almost a 1.5-second lead to our 2nd and 3rd place cars. Jacob Edson was able to eventually get around Michael Pegg running that high side. Malkier dropped back to 3rd. Sandy Curtis waiting in the wings in 4th. Only should be 10 laps to go this time by. Derek comes through 3 and 4. We are now 9 laps to go. He has managed to pull that lead out to over a 1.5 over Jacob Edson. Jacob closes there going into the corner, but Derek makes up so much time middle exit of the corner. What that's going to do is that's going to keep Jacob from being able to really get a good draft pull. Michael Pegg goes to dive Jacob Edson, clears him there, moves up the track, tries to take that momentum away. Jacob was there though, almost contact, not quite. Excellent car control from both of those drivers. They just keep out of each other. 43 is Sandy Curtis here, just like, come on guys, just decide who's in front, let me pass the other. So he had a monster run, he had to get out of it. So your battle for 2nd place is showing no signs of cooling off. These two running very, very hard. Michael again clears Jacob, but not able to do the slide job. Jacob Edson so very comfortable running the high side. Michael Pegg so very comfortable running the bottom. Michael trying to side draft. Jacob trying to pull him back. Not able to clear him, able to draw alongside. Jacob just running the best he can. He's doing a very successful job of keeping Michael Pegg behind him. There are 5 laps to go, and this is really allowing the 43 of Sandy Curtis to close up on the rear bumper of Michael Pegg, something he wants to go ahead and get that podium finish. Derek Garrison, though, here out in front. He has moved to the high side in 3 and 4. Doing everything he can to find a little bit extra speed in the car to go ahead and widen that gap even further as he's top side of the track both ends. He's pulled a lead out of 2.2 seconds. He's seeing the time that Jacob Edson's been making there along the top. He's emulating that right there against the wall. Derek Garrison seemed more comfortable earlier on in the run down towards the bottom, maybe just a lane up from the white line. Now seems to have found a home in that high side. If I had to guess, he heard the comment that the bottom lane is where you go for speed. And it's like, nope, we're going to show you can go ahead and make massive amounts of speed here around the top. So 2 laps to go. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the surprise of the night. 78 of Gary Sapinski, 61 laps. Does he have enough fuel to make it these last 2 laps? He has to be clutching it, as that car has got to be run on fumes. 61 laps so far on these tires. He is 0.2 of a second down on our leader in time. Currently running in 5th position with all of those tires, fresher tires around him. This is not where I expected to see Gary running. This is white flag lap, I do believe. Yeah. Derek Garrison brings it down the backstretch one final time. 3-second lead over Michael Pegg and Jacob Edson. Those two continue to fight for second place. Derek Garrison keeping it down towards the bottom. Doesn't need to do anything fancy. Just needs to get across the finish line first. He comes down the front stretch last time. Derek Garrison is your winner. Jacob Edson is able to beat out Michael Pegg right there at the line. Sandy Curtis comes home in 4th, and Gary Slapinski, in the surprise of the night, finishes in 5th position. Phenomenal drive from our top 5. Go through the rest of the top 10s. 59 of Ralph Blair is able to bring it home 6th. Todd Willis finishes 7th. Colton Manich brings it home inside the top 10 and 8th. Dan Witt grabs 9th. And Shane Bowie is able to secure that last top 10 spot, comes home 10th. Fantastic drive from all of our drivers as Derek Garrison, a well-deserved burnout all down the front stretch. I'm going to see if I can grab our top 3 for interviews. If I remember correctly, the last time Jacob and Derek weren't in here the last time they finished this far up. All right, so we're going to see what we can do to, in the future, get Derek and Jacob in the conversation, so we can have a conversation with them at the end of these races. These two fantastic drivers, would love to talk with both of them. So unfortunately, I think our third place driver, Michael Pegg, has already disconnected. So it looks like I don't really have anyone I can interview this evening. But I want to go ahead and thank you guys for sticking with us. Phenomenal race from all of our drivers tonight. I want to go ahead and thank all of them for coming out, putting on a fantastic show. Absolute blast to watch from the booth. You know, some of these races you can be really worried. It's a difficult track, and you expect to see a whole bunch of cautions. We didn't have very many tonight. A lot of clean racing, a lot of respectful racing. We appreciate that from all of our drivers. Masterful control of your cars tonight. Absolutely love it. Thank you all for coming out and racing for us. Thank you again, Brian, for adminning all this, keeping all of our ducks in a row. You are phenomenal. Want to thank Michael Pegg. It's because of Michael Pegg that we're even able to do these broadcasts. So I want to thank him for all that he does to allow these broadcasts to happen. And we want to thank you, the viewer, for coming out here and enjoying what we're doing. Without you, why would we even be doing this? I want to thank everybody for the run tonight. I want to thank the viewers. I want to thank the admins. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Lucky Dog always looking for more drivers. We love having the competition. But until Thursday, I do believe we will have open wheels tomorrow night, and then you will hear from me again Thursday for the Thursday Night Trucks. But until then, have a good one.